Good morning. Welcome to this week's IGTV. This week I am talking about how to create the relationship you want with your teenager, even if it's like pretty good, but you're feeling it kind of slip away, or maybe your teen is making choices that really are starting to scare you and you can't seem to like reel them back in. You're at a loss, you're frustrated, feeling defeated, and starting to think that you're a failure, which isn't true. So if that sounds like you are in the perfect place. Welcome. My name is Allie Payne. I'm a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach, and I have been working with parents and teens for 15 years to help them end the painful disconnection, emotional blowups, and stressful silences. So you're not walking on eggshells all the time, just trying to have a basic conversation. You can have trust, respect, conversations, coffee dates, actually have game nights, movie nights, and your teenager wants to come to you and ask for your input and share their inner goings on because they have that level of safety and trust with you. That's what I help parents develop. And I come at this from a unique perspective. I was an incredibly troubled teen. I acted out in all the ways. I did the skipping school. I had an eating disorder for 14 years. I came from trauma, so I still to this day deal with anxiety. I've dealt with depression, a suicide attempt. I was drinking by 13. I then basically started to fail out of school. I've tried the drugs. I've done the things. Okay, so there you go. That's who I am. So I came to parenting having gone through 25 years, basically 20 years of healing, 20 years of therapy and healing. And I'm a parent and I've raised two boys. They're now young adults. They're incredible people. So when I'm offering what I offer to you as a parent, I'm not doing it. I'm not a PhD. But I'm not offering it from books. It's not because I've read about it. It's because I've walked it. So I am bringing to you a perspective from your teenager, trying and explaining to you what they are wanting and what they're needing, so you can give it to them and change their behavior in the process. This is not about learning to give up or cater to your teen. Oh, heck no. This is about learning to connect with them rather than having to try and control them. So you are not failing, okay? I cannot say that enough. I ran a webinar last night, hundreds of parents. And when I said those few comments in the chat box, all it said was, it just was scrolling by, tears, tears, tears. I'm in tears. Is anyone else crying right now? I'm in tears. Because the level of parent shaming in the world is up to here. Because if your teenager is not succeeding or if they are struggling, it must be your fault. Well, if you just knew how to she's one of those parents. Yeah, she's not seeing, she's kind of missing the boat. If she just did, can we just stop already? Can we stop? Because I don't know about you, but there was no relationship skills courses in school, and I skipped a lot of school, but I did not skip that class. And I can tell you what, as far as parenting, I pretty much took 6 hours of training on how to get that creature out of my body and keep it alive for, 30 days, maybe the first year. But I can tell you for sure, nobody taught me how to parent a teen. I had to learn that on my own. And what I want for you is to shorten your time frame of learning that I went through to do all the healing, to reparent myself, to raise children in a way that I felt was healthy and constructive, even though it was messy and so very far from perfect. This isn't about being perfect. This is about having you understand what no one told you. No one taught your parents this, and that doesn't make them bad people. They did the best they could with what they knew. My parents both got a lot worse than I got. So did they make their legacy better? Yeah. Was it okay No, it was abuse and it was toxic. But did they do better? Yes. I decided it stops with me. Not because they're bad, not because they're not smart enough, and not because you are failing, and not because you are not smart enough. See, here's this funny thing no one tells you about parenting. In the first 8 to 12 years of your child's life, you taught them how to human. It's very behavioral. There's emotions involved, of course, but based on their brain, they are very simplistic. There's generally 6 emotions in their brain, okay? You taught them how to human. You taught them fine motor skills. You taught them gross motor skills. You helped them learn to walk, put a spoon in their mouth, actually get food in there too, not just on the floor or on their face or in their hair. You taught them how to get dressed. You helped them learn basic language and communication skills. You helped them learn how to use a toilet. You helped them learn how to ride a bike, close a door behind them, put a seatbelt on, look before they cross the road. Like all of these enormous, this takes years. You taught them how to human. And you're an expert at that. You're friggin' amazing at that. Like seriously, just right now, give yourself a pat on the back. That is not easy. That is not easy. You taught your child how to human. And it was hard and frustrating, and you wonder if they were ever going to learn it some days, like brushing their teeth, combing their hair, how personal hygiene, all of those things. And then their brain went and changed. No one told you this. No one told your child this. Their fundamental physiology in their brain began to change. It's actually growing. It's the second growth phase in their brain in our human lifetime. And it is developing a far more complex system in there, and it's writing all of its own software at the same time as becoming more accustomed to a far more complex emotional brain that they have no idea how to articulate. Now you wonder why it seems like a teenager's going crazy? If it was me, I think I'd be in a psych ward. Yes. And parents, you think you desperately miss your child. Thank you, Desiree, for saying that. They don't want to kiss you goodbye anymore. They maybe don't want to hug you around their friends. Maybe they don't want to hug you at all. They're not your shadow. They're not your mini-me. They don't learn by mimicking you, and they don't desire to be like you anymore. And I don't know how else you're supposed to take that other than rejection. Literally feeling like rejection. Because their brain, our human brains, are required to learn through assimilation as a child. They want your input. So you are teaching them how to human. You're talking. They listen. They ask a lot of curious questions. Why? Because they're trying to figure out how to human. And you're amazing at that. You're a patient. Gosh, you made it through a lot. A lot. And I just seriously want you to give yourself a little bit of credit for that, just right now. That you built a level of expertise in something that you thought was going to literally, it was exhausting. And then your teenager showed up one day. Some people say it's overnight. And they became defensive. That they went from being a relatively friendly, not perfect, relatively friendly, compliant child to disrespectful, frustrated, angry, angsty, sharp. They went dark. They kind of go inside. And I'm not talking about mental health, although that is something. Mental health, yeah, they become mean. They want to spend time alone in their rooms or with their friends, but certainly not with you. And now everything you try and teach, because you're good at that, Every time you try and teach them something, they either tune you out, they eye roll, or they just shut you down verbally, because what they hear is a lecture. Their propensity to listen, their capacity to intake information goes way down. There's two reasons for that. First, because of the physiological and neurological changes, renovation going on in their brain, which, by the way, nobody tells them about. And most teenagers tell me they think they're either going crazy or they're broken, and they are terrified. Because at that time, their brain is actually doing a process called individuation, which is where it literally rewrites its identity, because it's far more complex now. It rewrites its own identity, beliefs, value system, thoughts, and so who they knew they were and liked changes. And they don't know why. And they're terrified. And part of the reason that they're acting out against you is because they are so afraid of what's going on in their brain and nobody's telling them. And they're angry and they're scared. They have a wildly inefficient computing machine. That doesn't mean they're not intelligent. I did not say that. The inefficiency of this processing machine, whilst it is growing new hardware, developing new software, and trying to process wildly more complex emotions. Okay, so to give you an idea, they went from about six basic emotions when they're a child, okay, to what is now studied, Dr. Brené Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart, get it, 88 feelings and emotions is what their emotional brain is capable of, but they have no idea how to identify, articulate, express. And so what ends up happening is because you do more of what you are amazing at, and it doesn't work. So you're human, and the human brain, we double down on what we already know. That's like, it's the epitome of, the Energizer Bunny commercial where he's like running into the wall, like boom, boom, boom. That's what we do. Our brains are wired to do that. Our brains are wired to do more of what we know when what the result that we want isn't working. We just do more of what we know. I know it's also the definition of insanity, right? But it's how we're wired. That doesn't make you not intelligent. That does not make you a failure. And that does not make you like a terrible person, a terrible parent. It doesn't. Because this shift that happens in their brain means that you probably are trying to still tell them how to behave, how to do. And that's not what they need. In that phase of adolescence, their brain is individuating, which means that's a whole process of figuring out who they are, which, although it is intellectual, it is very philosophical, emotional. It's not about doing. It's not about doing anything. It's about learning how to be, and that's an emotional process. But nobody tells you this, okay? And the more you try telling your teenager how to do life, they feel insulted, disrespected. They feel like you're being condescending. They feel like you don't think they're smart enough to figure this out, that they're capable enough to figure it out. And so they give you one of these, you can guess, and just go, whatevs, man. And they start to shut you out and get really disrespectful and defensive because they don't understand other language to tell you that's not what they need. They don't know how to ask for what they need. They don't know. So you get more of the raw feed because this new, inefficient, but a forming brain that is required to be a successful, independent adult is new. You know, it's like when your toddler was learning to walk and they were like terrible at it. They fell all the time. They had bumps on their heads and black eyes and scrapes and bruises because they tripped and fell all the time. It's the same with the teenager. You're getting the raw feed. And if you focus on that purely as a point of disrespect that you, as a good and loving parent, need to teach them is not okay, you're missing the point. Because what they need is your help refining that raw feed, not shutting it down. They need you to help them say, hey, Kate, I love you and I want to hear what you have to say. That was a little bit sharp. Is there a different way you could say that? And be less focused on their behavior and more focused on the emotions that drive behavior. Did you know that scientifically that's proven? All behavior is a reflection of emotions and beliefs. The number of parents who come to me and tell me that they are terrified because their teenager is not doing school, lack of motivation in school, okay? They don't care. They're not handing in assignments unless you basically sit on their head, and even then, they're not showing up to school. They either refuse to go to school or they're skipping school when they're there, okay? So now their grades are slipping down a very steep slope, and that's partly due to the pandemic and a whole lot of other things, okay? There's partly that. Their teenager is more concerned about their sports and their friends, but won't seem to put in any effort at school. Like they are completely lacking motivation. I mean, lazy, irresponsible. Seriously. They are now, you've caught them with vaping paraphernalia in their room, vapes, THC vapes. They're smoking weed, keeping it in your house, smoking pot. And there is nothing that you can seem to do to get them to stop. And I understand. I'm not condoning any of that behavior, but I'm telling you this for sure. And this has been proven by the Canadian Mental Health Association in their most recent study of youth in 2018. The most preventative medicine to help your teen avoid academic lack of performance, let's just say that, okay? Slipping in their academics, making poor relational choices like hanging out with the bad crowd to fit in because they don't feel like they belong at home. Avoiding things like alcohol, drug use, promiscuity, sex, call it whatever you want. All the things. The number one way to support your teen to not make those choices is not actually by preventing them from doing it, by stopping their behavior and being stricter and more controlling so that they will comply. That's not it. I know that's what you and I were taught. That is what you and I were taught, and I'm just going to say right now, it didn't work for me. You could ground me a million times. I still snuck out every night. I still went drinking with my friends, although I did not. I was more often the designated driver. I still tried drugs. I still was highly promiscuous. I still was, I did all the things. The number one way to prevent all those things, scientifically studied and proven year over year, is to connect with your teenager. And you can't do that at a behavioral level. It's not possible. That's not how our brains work. You can only do that by connecting at an emotional level, because emotions drive behavior. And true behavioral change happens at an emotional level. So I'm not saying you need to tolerate this. And if you just said right now, right here, if you just said, well, what am I supposed to do? Just let them keep doing this? Then this is for you. Please stick with me. And if you just said, well, what am I supposed to do? Not set consequences then? Or what am I supposed to do? Just to let them fail? I get those comments from parents all the time. And those are good, caring parents. Good, caring parents who are doing what your parents taught you. And thankfully now, with science and psychology, we have proven There's an easier way. There's a much simpler way with less arguments, less stress, less nagging, less constant consequences that actually connects and creates long-term behavior change. So you end up getting the relationship you want, where they want to spend time with you. They want to share with you. They don't mind when they don't find you so embarrassing. Okay. So if this is sounding familiar to you, tell me if this sounds familiar. Okay. You feel exhausted and drained because this cycle of constant boundaries and consequences has got you, it's not working, but every day you get up and you're trying, it's like you're the Energizer Bunny running into the wall. You're exhausted and you're drained, okay? You feel frustrated and at your wit's end because you're doing everything you already know. And that's because you're smart and you're an expert at what you knew. But what you knew and what you've been told isn't what your teenager needs right now. And nobody told you that. Nobody told me that either. Okay? You feel sad and scared because you desperately miss your child, the one who wanted to spend time with you, mimic you, do what you said, listen to what you had to say, and shared a good part of what was going on in their brain. You miss them. And you see who your teenager's becoming, and you're a little scared about the kind of choices that they're making, and you don't know how to stop it. Now, and then you feel like a bad parent. Here we are on the wheel. Is this sounding familiar? Where you start to blame yourself, and then you beat yourself up, and then you spend nights crying or up all night worrying because you don't know who your teen is becoming. You're not sure what the future holds. And you're actually feeling a little angry too, resentful and angry. Because you're like, am I supposed to put up with this level of disrespect? Like, when do I get to say, that's enough? But when you've tried it in the past, it hasn't worked. So now you're just at a loss. If that sounds familiar to you, then what I'm sharing today is exactly, this is for you. You are my tribe. You are welcome here. Because as I said in the beginning, we don't do parent shaming here. No such thing. Parenting is really hard. There's no manual for this. Your child did not come with a manual. And again, you can read all the books, a lot of it, but you feel totally lost in all the emotions. Yep. And overwhelmed by the whole thing. Yeah. And guess what? So does your teenager. But they show it in a way that's really angry and frustrated and defensive because their emotional brains are hijacked most of the time. So then how do you create a more respectful, healthy relationship with your teen where you have open and honest conversations with them without needing to control them? It all feels so complicated, but it doesn't have to. So I want you to feel valued. I want you to feel valued. I want you to feel respected. I want you to feel confident about what you're doing as a parent and knowing that even when it's hard, because I'm not painting a picture of Mary Poppins here, okay? Because that doesn't exist. Even when it feels hard and messy, that you know you are doing the best you can and that your teenager's doing the best they can. That's what I want for you. I want you to feel appreciated. Like just every now and then, your teenager might actually thank you for what you're doing and notice like all of the things that you don't end up having to constantly rescue and enable your teenager to do things for them because they just won't ever do it. You've asked a million friggin' times and they're still not picking up their towel or putting their dishes away and you are at your wit's end about it. I don't want that. I want you to feel appreciated because they bring their dishes out or they just don't take dishes to their room. They put them in the dishwasher. They pick up their towel. They get their laundry up off the floor. Not because you had to yell and scream. Nope. There's a simpler, more powerful way. Where you and other parents, can you imagine this? Imagine this. What if other parents actually were saying to you, how did you get your teenager to do that? How did you actually get your teenager to do that? Because I'm really struggling over here and we're doing this, and they start to turn to you for advice, and you don't have to feel like the parent who is around friends who has to hide the way it is or lie about the way it is, because you're going to be compared and constantly come up short, and you're going to feel shamed because you're so much less than perfect. What if you were the parent that your friends started coming to be like, how are you doing this? Like, tell me, literally, give me the deets, spill the tea. That's what I want for you. And it's possible. When your teenager starts taking initiative. So I have put together a program, the Empowered Parent Mastermind. It's an 8-week program, online, pre-recorded modules, plus 8 weeks of live Q&A with me on Zoom, not like this, on Zoom, with a group cohort. Okay, it's not an individual program, it's not therapy. Based on everything that I went through as a teenager and everything I wished my parents knew as a way to support me, and everything I learned in all of my healing, and everything I learned in so far my 20 years of parenting. And I raised a child with generalized anxiety and OCD, and that was literally the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It brought me to my knees. It broke me. More times I was in tears watching his brain torture himself. And I studied the brain for 2 years to figure out how to help turn him around. He's doing amazing now. He still has generalized anxiety and OCD, but he is empowered and equipped to know what self-care looks like. He manages his brain on a daily basis. I don't have to, because it's not my brain, it's his. And I want to shorten all of this process for you so you can have this relationship with your teen, because I'll tell you what, this is not a phase. It's not a phase. This adolescent brain doesn't ever go back. It stays that way and it continues to develop. So the more that you stay connected with your teenager through the messy adolescent years, the higher your odds are of having a healthy relationship with them, connected relationship into adulthood. So it's like you're either going to learn this with me now, or you like throw the cards in the air and you get what you get when they're an adult. So And again, this because nobody taught us this. So over the 8 weeks, here's what I cover. I'm covering the in-depth relationship skills and nuances that you and I were never taught, that bless our parents, they didn't know either to teach us, to make parenting feel easier, less stressful, less exhausting, more fulfilling, as a rich experience, even when it's messy. So over these 8 weeks, I will give you specific scripts and tools. We're going to talk about toxic communication and feedback, like defensiveness and all the angry meanness, okay? Lying, trust, and forgiveness. Like actually walk through, how does it work in the brain? I'm going to give you the science of why teens lie, all of that, plus the relational skills to translate that into parenting, step-by-step parenting skills. Healthy relationships, dating, and sex. That's right, we're going to talk about it so that you can talk about it with your teenager. And it is vitally important. We're going to talk about setting boundaries and holding consequences from a position of respect and compassion that builds connection, not from a place of expectations, compliance, control, which doesn't change behavior, PS, and it disconnects. So we're going to flip that on its head, and I will give you the exact scripts, step by step, the whole thing. I'm going to walk you through it. And remember, we got live Q&As every week. So I'll literally help you every day. We're going to talk about mental health and big emotions, which also has to do with a lot of anger and how to help your teenager manage the meanness, manage the anger. We're also going to talk about personality styles and love languages. Do you know that one of the number one ways that I help parents and teens is that they're simply opposing personality styles? Neither one is right, neither one is wrong. But when they're opposing personality styles, literally everything feels hard because they are both looking at life from their own lens. And the other person is just constantly different and in opposition to that. And so you get massive arguments and conflict all the time. And when all of a sudden I do this exercise with them and they're like, oh, so you're not trying to intentionally piss me off. Like you You're just being you. And I'm mad because you're not like me. Oh, instantly better, literally. Social media, gaming, and privacy. We're going to talk all about parenting and relationship skills on how to parent effectively through social media, gaming, and privacy, because it's a thing of our lifetime. So we just need to talk about it. Okay. Parenting beliefs and generational messages, because this is how we come to the game. We come to the game with what we knew, what we were taught, and it works for a time as a child. The problem is, as soon as your teenager, their brain begins to develop into adolescence, any differences or things that weren't like a little off, but you could kind of make work, those differences become amplified, like wildly amplified. They get bigger and harder. And it's not that they were ever wrong. It's just that because of your teenager's brain changing, those differences amplify. And so what you believed and what you were taught becomes even more and more important to unfold that and be able to have a look at it and see based on what you think, not on, I'm not perfect, based on what you think is still working, what's not, and then couple that with what I'm sharing with you to develop a new lens. Okay? And we're also going to talk, the whole thing is about connection tools over 8 weeks. You also get 12 weeks access to my private parenting program on Facebook, so that in the 8-week program, every day, if you have questions, you go in the private Facebook group and you're like, okay, I don't get this, and I don't get that. And you write it all down, and I'm like in there every day. So you get a pre-recorded module each week that has a video, the audio, a transcript, a downloadable worksheet, and a list of resources, like little TikToks and articles I've written to really explain and look at that. The video is about an hour long. You don't need to watch it all at once. Just do like 15 minutes a day over 4 days. There, easy peasy, you're done. 15 minutes a day. And then every week, later on in the week, we get on a live Q&A call, okay? And every day, if you want, you can be in the private Facebook community, the private parenting community, and be asking questions there too, all right? You get lifetime access to those 8 modules, the videos, all the things. You get lifetime access to that. So if you have 2 teenagers, also both parents can participate. I strongly encourage both parents to participate, even though I can only use one email address. Both of you can participate. Why not? You get lifetime access. You also get a permanent link to all of our live Q&A Zoom calls. So if I went over a thing with you and helped you unfold something and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to remember that. You don't have to remember it. You get a permanent link to that. Okay. We also, now all of these modules are in the back end of my website. So if you go to my website and you ever look at it, alliepayne.com, there's a thing in the corner that says login or account. And that's where you access all of the modules for the rest of the days. Okay. You also, if you and register as a VIP, you get voice access to me every day, all day. Okay, but I don't answer like 24/7. It's like a walkie-talkie. The app is called Voxer, Voxxer. You just like push a button and you're like, I'm so frustrated. He came home late again and he's not paying attention to my curfew and I'm so pissed off. What am I supposed to do right now? I get the message, and if it's convenient for me in the moment, I just quickly respond to you right then and there. That's what you get with VIP access. You also get a free 60-minute one-on-one coaching session with me as a VIP. Okay. You get a guided exercise book, okay, with the 9 most common parenting pitfalls in communication. Little itty bitty little tips, what goes wrong, the science behind it, the exact script of what to say, and a little TikTok. So you get a complete communication guide as part of your registration. You get communication tools, actual flashcards, like literally, like, oh my gosh, this is happening. What do I say? Flashcard right there. You can keep them on the fridge, keep them in the kitchen, keep them in the living room, whatever you need. Okay. And you also get a parent resource list of all of my top like tips, tools, quizzes, like the whole thing. Lifetime access to that too, okay? You can rest better at night. You can feel appreciated, confident, and connected with your teenager. You don't have to keep missing them, and you don't have to feel like everything is an epic World War III, painful arguments or stressful walking on eggshells because now your teenager's running the whole family because their moods are so bad you don't even know what to do. You don't have to do that anymore. You don't. And this program, the Empowered Parent Mastermind, okay, it is a $7,000 value. And I give you everything I've got for 8 weeks. If you know anything about me, if you're here on, I don't like half-ass my way through this. I do this because I believe in you, and I know you can do this, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way. And I guarantee that you're going to get what you came for. Literally, 100%, no questions asked, money back guarantee, I promise it. You get to module 3 and you're like, this is BS, Allie, I'm out. Great. Full refund, I love you. Zero questions asked. That's how much I believe in what I do, and I believe in you, and I'm so passionate about parenting not have to feel so friggin' hard, and being a teenager doesn't have to feel so frustrating. It doesn't have to. So there is a payment plan, okay? The regular price is $16.97 plus GST in Canadian dollars. In US dollars, that is about $1,500. Resources deleted in weeks. Okay, no access, very unhappy. Are you talking about my 5-day challenge? I'm really curious if you're talking about my 5-day challenge, North Star. The Empowered Parent Mastermind is lifetime access. The 5-day challenge that I run is $15 and it is not lifetime access. No, it's 30 days. So yeah, if I can help you with that, just send me a message. The regular price is $16.97. And that's a payment plan of $299.50 Canadian. So that works out to less than $250 a month for 6 payments, which is less than the price of a therapist or counselor. And I promise you the results will be longer lasting. And remember, you get lifetime access. Lifetime. Okay? If you want to do the VIP where you get the Voxer access to me, okay? The Voxer access where you get like the literally real-time walkie-talkie access to me and the free 60-minute one-on-one session with me, the regular price is $19.97 Canadian. That's maybe $1,800 US. And the 6 payment plan is $349.50 Canadian. So in US, I think that's like $275. For 6 payments. Registration is open right now and it starts on Monday, January 24th. So I'm going to need you to get onto the registration soon. You can find it right on my website, alliepayne.com. It's on the top banner. Or if you're feeling really tech savvy, you can tap on my name here on my Instagram. Then go to my profile on Instagram. There's a link that says Get the Goods. Hit that, and it will open up a menu that says the Empowered Parent Mastermind starts January 24th. I want the relationship that you want with your teenager, where they respect you, you can joke around with them, you have fun conversations, and they actually let you in on what's going on in their life, at least a little bit. There's trust. You feel appreciated. You feel confident. They aren't embarrassed about you being around. They actually might even hug you. They might say goodbye to you. And they do what you ask to help around the house without having to nag and remind. And your boundaries mean something, as do theirs. So you don't need to keep doing the consequence carousel that is exhausting. It is possible to have a more open, honest relationship with your teenager based on trust and respect without giving up or giving in, even if everything else you've already tried isn't working. And this doesn't make you a bad parent or mean that you're failing. Because if you're like me, nobody taught this. There's no training for this, and your teenager sure didn't come with any small print or a manual. So if you're ready to skill up and start connecting with your teen because you know you weren't taught and you want to get more information to create a long-lasting, long-term relationship with your teen into adulthood, then the Empowered Parent Mastermind is for you. It starts Monday, January 24th. So hit up my website, alipayne.com. There's a banner right across the top. Or again, you can hit my name. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put the link underneath. It's the Empowered Parent Mastermind, the 8-week program, and all the details are there. But get your registration in now. You are worth this. I believe in you, and I promise you, I will be with you every step of the way. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm so grateful that you're here, and I look forward to seeing you in my program starting next week. Bye, everybody.